anything else is not a career option for you. And I had this conversation that was really holding me back from doing something incredible. And I almost didn't do it because I was just like, but that's not my identity.
Hi, everyone. It's Kara Goldin from The Kara Goldin Show, and I'm super, super excited to have our next guest here. We have Raina Kumra, who's the founder and CEO of Spicewell. And Spicewell is a brand new company. So thrilled to have her come join us because, as you know, we love having founders on here, and we really love to hear about their journey. And Raina is just getting started, not just getting started in her career. She's had this amazing, amazing career, and she's dabbled in lots and lots of different things, from activism to entrepreneurship. And Spicewell is really game-changing in the spice industry. So Raina's background is incredible and unique. She's been a media and marketing expert. She had done some work on the Biden-Harris transition team, overseeing U.S. global media technology strategy for Voice of America, Radical Free Europe, Radio Free Asia. I didn't even know all this about you, by the way. Raina and I know each other too. And she's just this amazing, amazing resource for early stage technology companies. She's also an investor too. She's an investor with The Fund, which is an early stage venture fund. So really, really thrilled to hear her go hang a shingle and start this company that she saw this hole in the market and knew how to solve it. And so welcome, Raina.
Thank you, Kara. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here and getting to chat with you. I love this podcast. So it's nice to be a fan.
Well, super, super excited. So explain Spicewell and the mission.
So Spicewell is the world's first nutrient-dense salt and pepper. And I have added 21 vitamins and minerals, about 10% of your daily recommended intake of these vitamins in about a half teaspoon serving. And it's also Ayurvedic, and it also has adaptogens. So the pepper is blended with turmeric, which is a very powerful ancient recipe for anti-inflammation. And the salt has a little bit of ashwagandha in it, which helps your body deal with stress. And I just sort of looked at salt and pepper, and it's something that has not been really innovated on in about a century since we added iodine to it. And it's something that I know everyone eats and drinks with every day. So I thought, hey, this is really something that needs an innovation. And I would like to be the person that brings it to the market.
Well, they are so tasty as well. So you can cook with them, and it's just this amazing, amazing product. So tell me a little bit more about your background. So who was little Raina?
Little Raina was a introvert who always had her head in a book as often as possible. And I loved learning, I loved reading, and I loved also not necessarily having to talk to people. So that was part of like this shyness. And then somewhere, I learned to be an extrovert, and I really learned to enjoy all of the great, wonderful things that happen from just talking to people all day long. So I've done a total 180 on that.
What did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Well, like every Indian kid, you are told that you are going to be a doctor. So, you rehearse it, and every time you're asked, what are you going to be? The answer is a doctor. And what's kind of funny about this is, like, coming full circle after a whole career in tech, I feel like what I'm doing with Spicewell, obviously I'm not a doctor. It's as close as I can possibly get to helping in the healthcare industry, which is through food and healthier food. But in many ways, it has been something that's really important to me to always try to help people and make them healthier. And when I was a little kid, I was always making little potions, and I was always trying to create medicines. And I was, taking peppermint leaves out of the backyard and making a tincture and, telling my mom that it was going to help her stomach. I don't know what I was doing, but there's some probably like mitochondrial DNA information somewhere in my system that tells me what to do on this stuff.
That's awesome. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bay Area. So
Okay.
first in San Jose, and then moved to Los Altos and Los Gatos finally. So
that's awesome.
Total Bay Area kid.
Very awesome. So do you think it was your mom who was kind of sharing a little bit about, just plant medicine and natural healing overall?
Yeah, it was definitely my mom, and it was 100% my grandma. So there's all of these amazing things that Indian women just know, and they do. And I learned it when I was a kid, like if you have a stomach ache, you take these seeds and you boil them, and then you drink a tea out of them, and all of your stomach ache issues are over. Any digestive issue is over. And, a lot of properties of ginger, a lot of properties of turmeric, and a lot of the spices that we use in everyday Indian cooking were just part of daily life. They were also part of daily medicine. So if you had a bruise, you would make a patch out of turmeric and put it on that bruise, and it would heal faster. So there was things that I picked up definitely just from, being Indian and growing up in a household that understood Ayurveda. But where I really found that it came back in full force for me, because I forgot all about it, was when I had kids. And I didn't want to give them over-the-counter Tylenol. I didn't want to put red dye in them when they were sick. I just wanted to find a better way to treat them. And I went right back into the kitchen instead of the medicine cabinet, and I pulled cures out of my pantry and out of my garden. And that's sort of when it began. I had kids like 5 and 8-year-olds, so a while ago. So I've been kind of toying with plant medicine again in a different format.
So interesting. So we'll come back to Spicewell in a minute. So you left the Bay Area, you ventured off to, did you work right after, or did you go straight to business school?
No, I've actually never been to business school.
Oh, for some reason, I thought you did. So join the club here.
I'm so glad. I know. I'm so glad I give off that vibe. But no, when I was 17, I was about to go to Berkeley or UCLA, and I wanted to go to film school. And then I just, on a fluke, checked off another box on the general app for Boston University, just thinking, I've grown up in California. I've never left California. What about potentially going far away?
I love that.
And then I went and visited. I loved it. And I was like, that's it. I'm leaving. I'm going as far as I possibly can from the Bay Area, and ended up at BU in the College of Communications studying film and television production. And I loved it. And then I was on the East Coast ever since. So I stayed in Boston. I graduated a year early. Then I went to New York and I enrolled at NYU's ITP, where I learned a lot more about technology and media. And then I went to Harvard for a year, but not for business school, for design school. And I was the technical person in the urban planning and architecture side of things. So
cool.
Totally random education.
And what did you think you were going to do with that?
So I had aspirations to really help the built environment with digital media. So that was sort of where my head was at the time. And I, before 9/11, I was very convinced I was going to be a video installation artist. I've always loved art and design. I've always loved immersive environments, creating worlds, and just creating, because the through line for everything I've done has been creativity. But what's great and very practical was after 9/11, I ended up working on a documentary for Cantor Fitzgerald. And that documentary brought me into advertising. I worked at Bartle Bogle Hegarty under the infamous Cindy Gallup, who was my first boss. And
I did not know that.
I was very lucky. Yes, love her. She definitely taught us a lot. And then I went on to RGA to be an interaction designer working on Nike. And then I moved to Wieden & Kennedy, where I was running digital for the New York agency and working on all sorts of big brands that you've heard of.
Amazing. That's so great. And then you went into you worked on in the Obama
Yeah. Well,
administration. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I think this happens to a lot of people who spend more than a decade in advertising, is that you realize that you have amazing skills, but maybe you don't want to sell any more shoes and Cokes and you just want to do something else with those skills. And the State Department opportunity, which came off the heels of me doing a complete 180, moving to Africa and starting a solar training nonprofit called Light Up Malawi, was a great opportunity. And that actually happened via a conversation with Katie Stanton, who has always been like such a good luck charm in my life. And she's like, hey, they need people like you at the State Department. You should totally talk to this guy. And she connected me, and then I got a job.
That's absolutely incredible. And do you feel like that was an instrumental point in your life where you started to really think about making a difference? I mean, I feel like in Spicewell, it's not just about doing spices and like you're really trying to turn the world on to helping them. And I feel like when I hear about your journey, you have incredible experience, but I also feel like there's this need that you have to really help people, through products, through great things that you know how to do.
I think that's what was eating at me during the last couple of years of my advertising career. And it was funny because the gateway drug for me was working on the One campaign with this incredible group of people and, with an incredible mission. And it was a pro bono client for Wyden. And I just fell into it. And I was like, I love this. Oh my gosh, we could do so much. We could really cure diseases. We could really work on, really getting so much money onto the table for things that matter. And so that was like a good precursor, sort of a testing ground to see how my skills that I could port over from the world of commerce could actually help solve a true juicy problem. And then after that point, anything I did had to have the bifurcated goals of both being commercially successful and being really good in shifting the world forward.
Super great. So going back to Spicewell, so you decide to launch this company. What's been the most surprising thing? And you're just getting going, by the way. We're not in stores, not in retail stores yet. You can go on to the website, Spicewell, and order it. But what do you think has been the most surprising thing? Because this is really, you've invested in a lot of startup companies. You've worked for amazing advertising companies, but also seen the way that companies like Nike do things. I mean, what do you think is the main thing that you've seen that's really surprised you?
I think there's two things. So we're only 2 months in market. So we were literally a newborn infant of a company. And so the learnings are coming very fast, and they're great from storytelling to which platforms are we getting a lot of traction from. I mean, definitely after IDFA, nothing is working on anything meta related, so we are pulling out of there. That was a quick learning, but I think the most critical learnings for me were before we launched, and even before I started the company, when I was just still messing around with the idea. And it was so clear to me how much I was in my own way. And I reflect on this because when I read your book, while I was sort of in that phase of like, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? And you gave me so much courage just listening to your story. And I highly recommend this book to anyone who is even thinking about starting a company and feeling any level of fear. Like, it was just so good. I felt so not alone. I knew that there were other people who've been on this journey and just had to jump in and try something. So there was two things that were a big insight. One, I had to really sit down and talk to myself about what are the moments that I am happiest in my career? Is it working for someone else, or is it starting something? And it was all, again, about creativity, but more importantly, unbridled creativity and unchecked creativity, which means I had to be in charge. So that was realization one. The happiest times in my career have been when I've been in charge. And realization two was that I thought I was a tech person. And so I had really railroaded myself into, you are a tech and media person. Anything else is not a career option for you. And I had this conversation that was really holding me back from doing something incredible. And I almost didn't do it because I was just like, but that's not my identity.
Totally. And I think like that's the danger, that when you start getting an experience in one industry, other people view you as being in tech, and then suddenly you think you can't do anything else.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You convince yourself, and it's a bizarre thing. I was there. I mean, I know when I was at AOL, I kept thinking I need to go look for a job in tech. And then suddenly I thought, okay, it's going to be hard. Maybe it's harder for people to understand that I can have different interests and I can go and do something else, but I just need to convince myself, and I need to believe it myself that I can go do it. And so I get it. I've been there.
It's not easy because the world does really like putting you in a box and being like, oh, you're that person who, went to business school and does this one thing, right?
No, totally. And I think that is definitely the case. And the most interesting people for me are the ones like you, Raina, who try different things, right? And recognize that you liked pieces of this, you didn't like pieces of this. So I'm super excited for you on this journey. So around 92% of Americans currently have a vitamin deficiency. Read that, largely due to the food that they're eating. Why do you believe that Spicewell can help solve some of these problems for people?
Okay, so we are all walking around with some vitamin deficiency because, and this goes into like a whole movement around an activism sort of stance around how we grow our food, the soil in which it is grown, the lobbies that control how the government spends its money, and on which crops get grown and which ones don't. And the sheer fact that USDA, FDA have a very long list of GRAS, which are generally regarded as safe chemicals that are allowed in our food. So even the purest organic broccoli that we eat today, if you ate as healthy as you possibly could, it doesn't have the same level of magnesium that it used to, because it used to get that from the soil. So now we are low on magnesium because we're not getting it from the fruits and vegetables that we were getting it from before. And so, okay, great. So we have this wonderfully billion-dollar, trillion-dollar pharmaceutical and supplement industry. And they really capitalize on that. And it's just this like horrible cycle of eating poorly nutritive food, which then leads to chronic disease, which then takes you into medication and supplements. And all we're doing is this horrible cycle. And so how do you break that cycle is by eating better, and not just supplementing your vitamins, but eating it with your food, which improves your digestion and improves the absorption of these minerals. So the reason why Spicewell is not in a pill form and never will be is because we need to eat our vitamins with food. And that is how our body will process them. And also, all of these vitamins are sourced from plants. They are not from a lab, which for a lot of people who I've explained this to are like, oh, I didn't know that vitamins came from vegetables.
Well, and it's not regulated. Supplement industry isn't regulated at all. Yeah. So that's a whole other piece.
Regulated. It's not regulated. So it's better for your body to eat plant-based vitamins. And there's a buildup over time, especially around some of the adaptogens. So the other ingredients in Spicewell, the turmeric, and there's many studies on this, if you have turmeric every day for 8 weeks straight, you start to really improve all of the anti-inflammatory functions in your body. And so you really start to fight that inflammation that comes from eating bad food, packaged goods, all of the things that we might have a mild reaction to, but they build up over time. So it's helping to mitigate some of what is a bad cycle that we're all in because of the way we eat and because of the way our food is regulated in the US. And it's just my contribution to fighting back against big food and big pharma.
I love it. So it's part education, obviously great products that you can throw in on your chicken. I mean, it's like, it's amazing. So it tastes really, really good. So can you share a story about a challenge that you had, or maybe a failure? You're too soon in this, and it could be with Spicewell because it's so early on, where you felt like you were just, I don't know if I can do this, right? Like you're really struggling, to try and figure out, is this the right thing for me to do?
Yeah, well, I thought everything was really cruisy. I'm like doing my product development. I started in my kitchen, then I worked with a food scientist, and we got it, all formulated. We got the vitamin levels where we wanted them. We got the costs where we wanted them. Like I got sort of so much stuff done so quickly. So it just felt like it was really smooth and really fast. And then the biggest snag that I hit that I thought I could not overcome was packaging. It's insane. And I had no idea because I've never done a CPG product before. I had never really had to work on this level of operations. And the funny thing I always tell people is like, I'm so used to pixels and bits in my whole career. Everything has been like moving pixels around and moving bits and moving money around electronically. And this is so different because these are atoms, and atoms do not obey the way you want them to. And so I was like, I do not know how to solve some of these problems. I don't have the connections. I don't know the people. I don't know the good guys. I don't know the bad guys. It's not at all like where, I can walk into a room in a tech conference and be like, okay, I know exactly who I need to talk to for what. And so the packaging thing is just like, it's amazing how bad the packaging industry is and how much they just push you to the worst possible environmental packaging option because it's the cheapest. Everything, from China, because this was during COVID, everything that was coming from overseas, I was like not touching. So I was very fixated on finding packaging suppliers in the US that could also do what I wanted, which was compostable or recyclable packaging. Something I thought was only going to take me 2, maybe 4 weeks, took me like 8 to 12 weeks. So it was just amazing what a snag that was. And I learned a lot.
And so you do everything in the US on the packaging. Yeah.
Actually, we do everything in Southern California, except for our pouches, which are compostable and are manufactured overseas. But the rest of it is all packaged in California, and paper, 100% paper for our sachets, and our shaker tubes, which I'm really proud of, are also paper.
Paper. That's great. Well, I think like that's the one thing that I've heard people, it's been the biggest shift, I think, since COVID started, was that people are really trying to get their supply chain as local as possible. And, definitely at Hint, we were always doing that. But I think we had the founder of Barabee on a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how her costs for shipping had gone up like 5 or 6 times. I mean, a pallet from India was $5,000 and now it's 30. I mean, it's just insane, like how much costs have gone up. And it's really, it's hard. It's hard to, especially when you're a small company and you're just trying to make sense of everything. Yeah. It's just, it's real. So I think it's really smart to get things as local as possible, especially in the beginning, as you're trying to figure things out and figure out costs a lot better. So, well, that's, so amazing what you've been working on. So when can we see Spicewell? You said you're focusing on the online business right now, primarily, and then probably not stores until 2023.
Well, we're in a few small stores that have been like really supportive partners. So Farm Shop here in Santa Monica, they're going to bring it up to Marin too. And then, and I think like 2023 is probably good. I really want to use this year to learn as much as possible and also grow our communities. We're just at that point where the first orders are coming back and reordering, and like we're starting to build some fanaticism. And I really want to have our people behind us before we go into retail. So right now, the best way, as you know, to support a new business is to buy them from direct or from Amazon in our case too. And write reviews. Those are so critical right now.
No, and your reviews and your social are great. So it's you're doing an awesome job. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Raina. Really appreciate it. And where do people find Spicewell? It's just spicewell.com.
Thespicewell.com.
Thespicewell.com.
You can also find us on Amazon, but you have to search with us with quote marks. So quote mark Spicewell, quote mark.
Perfect. So, and thanks everybody for listening. Definitely subscribe to the Kara Goldin channel so you hear from great founders and CEOs like Raina. And please support Spicewell. Go to thespicewell.com and purchase some of her incredible spices. You will love them. And like I said, they're great to put on salads. They're great to cook with them. They're just really, really terrific. And definitely give this episode 5 stars. And giving us ratings definitely helps the algorithm. So I try and share that with everybody. And definitely check out Kara Goldin on all social platforms as well, and definitely pick up a copy of my book or go to Audible and grab it if you haven't already. There's so many challenges in my journey. I love hearing other people's challenges, as you all know, because I think we all learn from the challenging times, and the more we can hear about those, the better we become as leaders, as founders, as CEOs, as people. So thank you so much, Raina, for coming on. And
thank you, Kara.
Yeah, totally.
So great to be here.
Goodbye for now, everybody. And we'll see you here every Monday, Wednesday, and we're going to be adding an extra day very, very soon. So thanks again, everyone.